Hi, um, welcome to the video. Um, I thought for this video, I'd try and keep it kind of brief, because I do have a tendency to be long-winded. Um, but I thought I'd talk about how my bipolar um, has impacted on relationships. Um, and I can only really speak from my perspective. I can't actually say what partners have gone through unless they've actually told me, their feelings, and I might bring those up as well. Now, the thing with bipolar is, even when you're on medication and that medication is working okay, you can still get highs and you can still get lows, and I mean it's a bit of it's a lot of guesswork involved in what dose they give you and what medication, and so Let, let me talk about depression. And this is the kind of depression that um, you get even if your life is perfect. Now, if you lose your job or your partner leaves you, or you you fall ill, those are all things that it's quite natural to feel depressed about, and you're going through the whole process. And hopefully you come out the other side once your life gets better, or once you've got an understanding of how you can deal with those issues that are dragging you down. But when I get depressed, it's, there's generally no reason whatsoever why I should feel depressed. I just start to get a low mood, and I can feel myself being kind of dragged down. And there's not a lot I can do to stop it. It just kind of washes over me. And when I'm depressed, I'll discuss me. I mean, if you suffer from depression, your symptoms are going to be probably kind of like mine, but probably completely different. But I I can't be bothered to bathe, clean, wash my face, get in the bath or whatever. Can't be bothered to do that. I wear the same clothes for like days. Sometimes, well, I just stay in bed because trying to sleep is the only way I can get through the the depression without actually without it like impacting on somebody else. Um, See, I don't tidy up. I don't pay bills, so if there's a bill due, I don't even want to consider money because money like drags me down and everything. So if I talk about the last time I was really depressed when I was in a relationship, and that would have been sort of the middle of last year. My my second wife, I keep referring to her as partner, but there is a reason for that. But yeah, my second wife was in hospital for about 2 months, and it just dragged on, and I was getting more and more depressed. And we had a new dog, and I couldn't train him. I couldn't do anything with him, and I ended up just not hoovering, not clearing rubbish away, empty bottles and stuff like that. And yeah, I was a complete mess. And when my wife eventually returned home, because she did leave the hospital and disappear for a couple of weeks. Um, when she did eventually come home, it was like she pretty much gave me a 20-minute warning or 10-minute warning. Are you at, she rang me. Are you at home? Yeah. Um, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And then I said, well, where have you been? And um, she didn't really give a convincing answer. But anyway, that's another story. But she obviously saw the mess that the house was in, the mess that I was in. Hair all over the place, like a scruffy beard like this. I mean, I'm growing this for the lockdown. I just want to see how long it gets before the lockdown is lifted. Um, yeah, so I was massively depressed, and me and my second wife separated, and the divorce is like being finalised now as we speak. Now she was in hospital, and obviously she was concerned for her health, and I was to begin with. But then depression is like, it's a really selfish condition to have. When I'm depressed, I don't really care about you. Um, I don't really care how you're feeling. I don't care because I'm depressed and I want to think about myself and get myself through this. And there's there has never been anything that somebody could say to pull me out of it. Um, I probably 3 or 4 months before my wife went in hospital, I had like a massive argument with my mum, who sadly died, January the 30th. But I had a massive argument with her. But I was, I, I think I was in like a manic phase. But a manic phase can also, you can kind of crash into uh, rage and all the other stuff that I've got, like borderline personality disorder. But I ended up killing myself in a ball, and on the middle of the lounge floor with my mum on one side and my second wife on the other, and I just couldn't drag myself out of it. And they were quite concerned, so they were trying to get the number for the mental health team and everything. But I managed to kind of compose myself. But but yeah, I'll go back to my wife being in hospital now. She'd she'd been in hospital for a long time. Like I say, it was 2 months, and I would say that the last month of that, I was in a deep depression. I was having to drive. Well, I say having to. I was driving to the hospital every other day because it was miles away. She, but it was a bad road. We lived in Peterborough, and the hospital was Addenbrooke's. So the other side of Cambridge on the A14, and there were roadworks and everything. It was like really stressful. And like I say, for me personally, and I was being selfish. And being selfish is not always a bad thing. It's it's the way we kind of it's the way we manage our condition. We think about ourselves, and I would always say to partners, "There's nothing you can do. I just need to get through this depression." And I would only I would only need help if the depression was so deep that I was having suicidal ideations, which I mean I would say probably 3 times a year. Seriously contemplate suicide. But yeah, back to the hospital. So um, I mean she needed somebody to be there for her. So she ended up embarking on a relationship with one of the healthcare assistants that I've been looking after in the hospital. So as as you can imagine, that was like a shock for me, um, and I suppose in a way that kicked me out of my depression. Kicked me out of my depression because my other mental health issues kicked in, like the borderline personality disorder. But what I wanted to well, I'll conclude the depression bit. It's what I wanted to say was basically when I'm depressed, I only think of myself. I don't give a shit how my depression is impacting on the people around me, the people I care about ordinarily. I just don't give a shit what their feelings are, what they're going through or nothing. And my my second wife knew about my mental health issues, of course, and she 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 said that she'd always stand by me. I don't think she realised just how depressed I got, um, and eventually it was too much for her. And the I mean that's happened to me once before. I was dating somebody and uh, we moved in together, but the relationship was ended after a year because I was going through a depression. I was so depressed that I ended up uh, being made redundant from my job. So I lost a lot of income and I had like bills to pay and all that. Um, but yeah, that partner couldn't deal with it. She said to me that she'd already dated somebody with bipolar and didn't want to go through it all again. People are selfish, and like I say, I think there's nothing wrong with being selfish. It is a coping mechanism. It's a lot better than alcohol as a coping mechanism. Just think about yourself. Don't think about other people. When I'm going through really deep depression, my ultimate goal, although I might not want to admit it, my ultimate goal is to keep myself alive, not to actually kill myself. So I don't. I haven't got time to think about anybody else's emotions. And like I say, that would obviously drove my second wife away. So that's depression. Now, uh, the manic phases, I don't have them as serious now as I used to. Um, now, like I'm taking medication and that. Um, but the, I mean, if you don't know, um, when you're manic, you don't need so much sleep. Um, it's kind of like being on some kind of drug that just keeps you awake and keeps you you become so focused on things. Um, I mean, I write books for a living, and I can just sit there for like 3 days just constantly writing, and it's sometimes it's utter shit what I write, but yeah, it's just that um, being productive, and that can be bad for people around because when I'm in that phase, I again I'm selfish. It's like don't disturb me. I'm like working. I become like obnoxious, argumentative. I abuse alcohol, um, and it's kind of like you, you're out of control. It's like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Is it that way around, or is it Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde? No, it's the first way. Um, the and I think I said in the last video, when you're hyper, you're not going to go to the doctors unless you've had a really bad incident. And I mean, I was fortunate that I didn't I didn't have any bad things like Adamant running into a pub in London with no clothes, waving a plastic gun. Um, I've never done anything like that, but I do waste money when I'm manic. It's like I sit there and I'll be working, typing away. Yeah, my imagination works overtime. I can't focus on one particular piece of work that I'm working on. So I'm just all over the place, and then I'll be on the computer and I'll check and see what what is there on Amazon, some crap that I don't need, but I'll get it anyway. And so wasting money is a big thing. Abusing alcohol, and that doesn't go down well with partners. Um, and they're, they're they're being dragged along on this ride that they didn't sign up for. And if I've had partners say to calm down, what's going on, and like I said, I become really obnoxious and got like this air of being superior to my partners, and it's like they talk about the depression, and I can remember with my second wife. I was in a manic phase anyway, but so generally when I'm in a manic phase, I'm looking to start arguments with people, basically just because it gets rid of some of my energy. So I'm looking at starting arguments, and I can remember my ex-wife saying that she also suffers from depression, and I've not got the you know she suffers from depression, so what makes yours any different, that kind of thing. and and it was like that kind of just triggered me. It was like, well, you you don't get as depressed as what I do, and um I have no idea how depressed she got. She hid it quite well most of the time. It was rare that she ever appeared down. So for me, it was like, no, yours is nowhere near as bad as mine. And the thing is, you cannot possibly know how depression is impacting on another sufferer. So we had a big argument about this depression and everything. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of stuffed both ways. I get depressed. People people have said, partners in the past, that they'll be able to work through it. I mean, my second wife used to make up my pills, and in fact, because of the suicidal ideation, I take dihydrocodone for pain. I've got like diabetic neuropathy, and I take pregabalin for that, but I also take dihydrocodone if the pain is bad, really bad. I mean, um, but all of these drugs, I'm diabetic, so I have insulin, and a whole tube of this was not a pen's worth of this. If I injected myself with that, I would die. There's no two ways around it. I don't think there's much they could do to bring you out of the coma that you slam into. So my GP said to my wife, um, can she control all the medication and make sure that I don't, you know, deliberately overdose. And make sure that I do actually take my insulin when I'm supposed to. And at that point in time, this was probably about 2 years ago. And at that point in time, yeah, I did need somebody to monitor my medication to make sure that I didn't abuse it. I mean, I used to abuse dihydrocodone, so it's like happy pills. You know, you take four of those and you're kind of spaced out for 24 hours. Well, I am anyway. I wouldn't advocate anybody taking a big dose of dihydrocodone. It's really stupid. Unless you're taking it because you want to end your life, which that's a personal choice. And I mean, always said to I said to my second wife, because she was probably the one that had to deal with the diagnosis and me going on medication and everything. But I said to her, if and I've said to friends and relatives, if if you learn that I've killed myself, you should never ever feel guilty. Never feel pissed off, because that was my choice. That would have been my choice. And who's to say, you know, I might sink into a massive depression. This lockdown is kind of depressing. I might sink into a massive depression in the next fortnight and end it all. Chances are I won't, but it could happen. So I've been talking for about 22 minutes. What I'm trying to get at with the whole thing is, I mean, I'm telling you stories about my ex-wife and the problems that my bipolar caused. And she, like I say, she said at the start that she could deal with it all and everything, and she was quite happy to make up my pills every week and to make sure that I took them at the right time and everything. But then there'd be weeks where she wouldn't make up the pills. It's like, can't you do them yourself? You know, that kind of thing. And like I say, from a purely selfish perspective, I was pissed off with that. It's like, well, you said you was going to look after me, you know, help me through this bad shit. I didn't consider how that kind of pressure was affecting her. And I mean, who's to say? Like, you know, she said that she'd always stick by me. She said to me that she'd never cheated on anybody and would never cheat on anybody, but she ended up cheating on me. But it's like my bad behaviour impacted seriously on the relationship. So I mean, the dust has settled, in so much as we are just completely separate lives. You know, we don't. I don't even have her phone number. I'm presuming she doesn't have mine either. We're not friends on Facebook. It's just like, you know, that part of my life was a brief part of my life for 4 years. I think the relationship, but less than 4 years actually. And yeah, so but like I say, I'm only thinking about my own feelings. And you know what? Yeah, I've got bipolar. I'm manic depressive. I prefer that phrase actually, because it does actually says on the tin what it actually is. But I've never had a partner who has been depressed to the point where they're inconsolable, and when they're they're just losing their shit. So I've never had to see it from the other side. I don't know how it make me feel. You kind of like to think that you've got a level of understanding, so therefore I'd be more empathic towards people who were depressed. But I've never had to deal with it. I've only ever had to deal with my own depression and my own mania, and I I wish that I could find a partner who was strong enough to deal with the bad shit that I sometimes do. I call it bad shit. I mean, being depressed. That it's the worst thing in the world, and that you're not acting out when you're depressed. You can't be asked. Well, I can't. I keep saying you. I need to own that, don't I? I I can't be asked to do anything, and I'm not acting out at all. It's only when I start to come out of the depression and when I'm still feeling incredibly low, but not like depressed. That's when I'll occasionally there'll be some suicidal ideations in there. It's the mania that's worse because as I say, I've become argumentative, opinionated. I mean, I am opinionated anyway, but I, it becomes worse. It's like completely exacerbated. It's not helped by, although I don't need to sleep for like 3 days. It is obviously having a massive impact on me not sleeping, and so that makes me short-tempered and argumentative and um, uh, overly critical, and I imagine that's really fucking difficult to deal with in a partner. But like I say, when I'm ill like that, um, I I I'm being selfish. When I'm manic, I haven't got time to think about other people's feelings. It's like either hop on and enjoy the ride or fuck off, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's it must be terrible for partners to have to deal with that. And I felt deeply let down when I found out my wife had been cheating on me. I went through all the usual emotions where you're thinking about all the deceit that all the cover-ups and everything, and but I'll probably discuss that in a little bit more detail when I talk about borderline personality disorder, because that causes me to act out, and it's not good for partners. And I mean, I'll discuss it in the next video. But if I'm being honest, I think the my ex could have coped with the bipolar. It's them up and down moods and everything. But it I think it was the BPD which eventually drove her away. So yeah, I suppose half an hour now. Thanks for watching. If you're going through depression, write something in the comments. Let me know that there is somebody else out there. And if you're depressed, look after yourself. Think of yourself, and eventually you'll get to a point where you may be able to drag yourself out of it. It's better if you drag yourself out rather than have somebody do it for you, because you might not be ready to be dragged out of that depression. But yeah, this lockdown is doing my head in. Um, I I will endeavour to post another video tomorrow about a borderline personality disorder. I might do it live because I like doing live videos. See, I'm still rambling now, and I could even like cut bits out and everything, but I'm not gonna. This is just like raw footage. But anyway, thank you for watching. My name is Sean, and just stay safe.